All right, ladies and gentlemen, the clock is ticking down to the debate at Hofstra here in New York, out on Long Island, but it's New York State anyway. And joining us now on the panel is Jane Velez-Mitchell, founder of JaneUnchained.com, New York Times best-selling author, and author of Addict Nation, an intervention for America. And as I say every time, you're having an intervention. You Seinfeld fans get that. Tom Borelli, PhD, Dr. Tom Borelli, contributor for Conservative Review, is with us as well. All right, let me start with you, Tom. We have the fact that the polls, the polls indicate that everything Hillary has done, her entire strategy since the Democratic convention, the endless commercials, tens of millions of dollars over and over again of Trump mocking this one, mocking that one. He's untrustworthy. He's out of his mind. He's a lunatic. And the only thing that's happened to the polls is that Trump has closed every gap to where he now leads, or they're tied in every poll in every swing state. So how important is tonight? Rhetorical question.
Well, it's really, really important. I think what Mr. Trump has right now, as you mentioned, he has the momentum. He's come from far behind, 9, 10 points in the national polls. Colorado, he was down by 10. Now he's even. I think he's very close in Pennsylvania. All Mr. Trump has to do is just watch his style. It's going to be style points. All he has to do is stand there, look presidential, and I think Hillary's going to be on the defensive because she's got so much to defend. All the lying, all the mistrust, all the shenanigans that she's done outside the State Department, inside the State Department. Her foreign policy has always been a disaster, from losing almost $6 billion to the, bad policy in Libya and Syria. I mean, it goes on and on. So Trump just has to be there, smile, and be presidential.
Jane, let me ask you, before you get to the debate, let me ask you to address also, how do you account for, despite the fact that Trump only recently, a week ago, started running any ads at all, and Hillary was pounding and pounding and pounding, yet she lost all of her leads?
Look, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Tonight is a moment of truth. Donald Trump is not going to, I hope, be able to get away with a blizzard of lies. The New York Times documented that in 1 week in September alone, he told 31 whoppers.
Ooh.
If I had a friend who told me 31 lies in 1 week, I would end
well, you know what, Jane? You could argue, Jane. You could argue.
Pathological liar.
Okay. You could argue, Jane. You could argue that Hillary told as many lies, or certainly more important ones, at her first press conference defending her use of the email, because according to the FBI, everything she told the public over and over and over was a lie.
Let me tell you something. The most important thing that Donald Trump has said is that he was against the Iraq War. Guess what? He wasn't against the Iraq War. He told Howard Stern that he was in favor of the invasion. He's a liar. And I believe,
he didn't vote for it, though.
The American people need to wake up to the fact that this man is a sociopath and a pathological
Right.
liar.
And I think that fits Hillary Clinton. Are you sure you're talking about Trump, or are you talking about Hillary?
Tom, here we have a private citizen. First of all, this has been repeated over and over and over again. Nobody cares. Yeah. That's number one. He didn't vote for it because he's Jane, wait. I'm talking to Tom, because he's a private citizen. He's not a politician. He did say he is a private citizen who said that I don't think we should go in, and then once we went in, he said, I guess it's the right thing to do. So what? He didn't vote for it as a senator. So Tom, again, why isn't any of this working for her? You said Pennsylvania. That's a dead heat now in Pennsylvania, according to CNN. Every swing state is either tied or Trump is leading. And you know what? I don't believe the polls, because there are people terrified to incur the wrath of people like Jane by saying to pollsters, I'm for Trump. So they're for Trump, and they're not even registered in the poll.
The overarching momentum is really just throw all the politicians out, because all they do is really mess everything up. And Hillary really did herself significant damage when she used the deplorable line to represent about 25% of Trump's supporters, or the country.
50.
Half of Trump's supporters. So, calling constituents deplorable.
Wait, you'll respond 1 second.
You need to cover that.
Go ahead.
Donald Trump said the media did not cover the fact that she used that word. That's all they talked about for days. We can't have
Who cares what the media? She called the country deplorable. It's the flyover states they hate. The liberals, the progressives hate the flyover states. Remember Obama in Pennsylvania, clinging to your guns and your Bibles? She said the same thing, calling half the country, 25% of Trump supporters, deplorable. That really stinks.
Yeah, and What about Donald Trump saying, oh, the African-American community is in the worst shape it's ever been, ever, ever, ever? Has he forgotten about slavery?
No.
Talking current times,
Jane, he was talking specifically about the inner cities. The inner cities, and the inner cities are in the worst shape they've ever been. And he wasn't talking about slavery.
There were cities during the time of slavery. There was Atlanta, and I'll tell you what, the inner cities were worse than African Americans under slavery. Again, a serial exaggeration.
Right. Yeah, tell it to the blacks. Tell it, Jane, you tell that to the blacks living in the conditions they're living into now, that, ooh, Donald Trump didn't take slavery into account. They'll laugh at you.
And ethnicity with generalization.
And she's not getting nearly the 93% that Obama got of the black vote.
Your ethnicity. So don't generalize about entire races.
She's losing the black vote as well, Jane. How do you explain that?
This is the problem with Donald Trump. He generalizes, and he takes a sweeping broad brush and insults millions of people. Right. How do you think my next door neighbor,
how many devices did Hillary have?
Owner in my community who is African American feels about the fact that you've told him that he's in the worst shape ever, 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 when he's been working his whole life to achieve his success?
All right. Well, obviously, Jane, you say your next door neighbor. Your next door neighbor isn't living in the inner city, which again is what Donald Trump was talking about. And Tom, there are FBI statistics out today that show violent crime is up from 2015. But even there, when Donald Trump talks about the crime being on the increase, murders being on the increase, I'm talking to Tom, Jane. Jane, I'm talking to Tom. When Donald Trump brings that up and the media goes crazy and says, oh, no, look at the statistics. He's talking about the major inner cities of this country where, guess what, violent crime and murders have increased over the years under Obama.
Oh, and so Donald Trump is going to
to Tom. It's Jane. I'm talking to Tom. Go ahead.
It's really black on black crime is a huge problem. And Trump is really going to be the president for all Americans. Law and order. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for safety, looking for security, they're looking for jobs. And I think Trump can do that. Hillary can't. She's more tax, more progressive, and hell with the people in the flyover states.
Would have happened.
Jane, you think it's the role of Lester Holt to fact check the candidates tonight?
Yes.
Really?
I worked with Mr. Holt in the 80s at WCBS. He's an incredibly serious person. He's unlike Donald Trump, who said he was a Democrat, he's actually a registered Republican.
He's a big, well, we got, by the way, we got coming.
Another lie by Donald Trump, who didn't bother to check his registration before he
all right, we have examples coming up on Give Me Five at the end of this show that show Lester Holt acting like an incredible liberal while doing his news and questioning of Donald Trump Jr., of Donald Trump, and throwing softballs to Hillary. So he could be a registered at whatever he wants. Right. It's what he does on the air that counts.
Look at James Comey. He's supposed to be a Republican, too. What a joke that is. The fix is in.
Lester Holt.
Lester Holt wants to keep his job as a journalist. That's why he acts liberal, regardless of what he's registered.
Jane, you really got to take a breath. Just take a breath.
We bring out the best.
And now, who's going to make Lester Holt the arbiter? Who's going to say that Lester Holt is correct? Candy Crowley was dead wrong. And by the way, Candy Crowley's career ended after that debate. It ended after that debate. She was gone, not immediately, but real soon. She's just gone from the scene completely. So Jane, who's going to say that Lester Holt knows everything that's true and false?
Guess what? Facts are facts. And I do believe that a pathological liar is somebody who's suffering from a serious
Hillary.
It's not even that Donald Trump lies occasionally. I think it's very hard for him to tell the truth.
All right, let me ask you about a lie, Jane. Let me ask you about a lie. Barack Obama told CBS Jane. Barack Obama told CBS, I just played it in the previous segment, several months ago when asked, hey, when did you find out about Hillary's private emails account and server? He said, in the news, like everybody else. Well, in their Friday night document dump, the FBI reveals that Obama routinely emailed Hillary at her private email using a pseudonym. You talk about liars. That's all they could do when they open their mouth. Obama and Hillary is lie.
All you've got are those darn emails which don't amount to a hill of beans. She
Okay.
has served our country as Secretary of State, as a senator, as First Lady, and all you can come up with is she used a private
She set up
email.
a shadow
from her.
government. I don't
Big
care what
deal.
political stripe you're from. They set up a shadow government. Sid Blumenthal, they had the whole team there.
Can you say Colin Powell? Colin Powell blasted the heck out of her in private emails.
He also said that Donald Trump is
I
an
don't care.
embarrassment
He's a Republican.
and
Hey.
a national pariah.
And if
Jane.
he broke the law, put him in jail too. I don't care.
Colin Powell supported Barack Obama twice. Of course he's going to bash Donald Trump. He's not a Republican.
Right.
I don't care what his registration is.
Right.
He's a Obama-supporting liberal Democrat. Got to go.
Listen,
Thank you
I have
very
a couple
much.
of
James
things American
goes.
people are
And
listening to
Tom
this.
Borelli sticks around. And we'll be joined by Julio Rivera, who will join us in another panel because this was so much fun. Right after the break, you're watching America Talks Live. We're talking and we're live.